Hello, everybody. How you doing today? It's a new day. It's a fresh day. I hope you're up, shaking, and baking. So I always say that all my guests are fantastic people. And this is something else, man. I saw Mr. Evans' content on Instagram. And I saw his energy. Jesus Christ. And I heard his story. I'm like, yo. I've got to interview this guy. And then I realized that he walks out. I mean, look at his body. The thing that people don't realize in looking at people that work hard is lazy people don't work hard consistently. It takes discipline. It takes conscientiousness. It takes beating procrastination. And those are the things that actually stop people from making progress in their businesses. And this guy defeats all of those demons in the gym. And that's why he's kicking ass in his business. Welcome, Mr. Evans Willie. How's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm great, man. What's a great introduction. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be to be here today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. What brought you into the industry? What inspired you to get into the property space as a property investor?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, for me, I came to this country from St. Lucia in 2013. When I first came, I lived in a house. I didn't know what it was at the time, but now I know it was a HMO. So it was a living HMO, and it was in Crawley. It's a massive house. And for me, I was there. I was obviously, paying rent and stuff like that. And I was just like, it was so much rent because when I came from St. Lucia, every pound I spend here, I'm converting it to dollars back home. So when I was paying about $5.50, I was thinking like, $5.50, that's more than the average wage back home. Anyway, there was about 5 rooms in the house, and I realized that he was living basically rent-free when I worked out the maths. And later on, when I became his friend, I actually realized that he was living rent-free. So I was very inspired by that, off the bat. I was like, you know what? I found a way where I can obviously have a big house in England and not pay rent. So I was intrigued by that. But, just like, when you're around certain people, certain families, certain friends, you speak to them about your dreams and goals, and they obviously always shut it down. So me telling them, you know what, I want to do property, they was like, oh man, you need to have tens and thousands of pounds saved, and you need to have loads of experience, and so they basically just shut it down. So just like a lot of people, I put property on the back burner. I tried in many different jobs, many different businesses, but I came here with a hunger to improve my family back home. So doing all of those different businesses, I tried doing buying and selling cars. I did trading. I did network marketing. I used to do car sales. And all the different businesses didn't really, it made money, but the money, I couldn't grow. I realized I had to work more hours. So after 7 years, up until 2020, I was in a very dark place. It was locked down. I lost my job. And I was just like, man, what do I have to do now? What can I do? I think I've tried everything under the sun. It doesn't work. And just like a lot of individuals during lockdown, I started watching loads of YouTube videos, and I saw loads of people doing property. So I was like, okay, cool. That's a sign. I've lost my job, and now I'm seeing all of this property content. Maybe that's a sign from God. So I applied for a job as an estate agent. Nobody accepted me but one. And I got a job for a few months. And for 4 months, I actually, it was a very shit paying job. Pardon my French. It wasn't great pay. It was minimum wage. But the best thing about working in that job is that I met a lot of investors that was, worth millions. And I met those individuals. I got to know them, and they were average looking. They're average people. Some of them could barely, string 2 words of English together. Some of them have been in the country as long as I've been in the country. Even less than I have. So it really gave me a sense of belief that I can do it if they can do it. So I was obviously just open. So I started going to loads of property different trainings, and eventually I just finally, I finally got it. It finally hit me. And in 2020, I really started, I did the hardest thing, which I never wanted to do, which was invest thousands of pounds into knowledge and training and education. And when that happened, I think that's when the ground broke, because that's when it was actually real, because I'm like, okay, cool, I've invested thousands of pounds. I need to get this money back. And I think that's when everything just took off for me since 2020, really.
Let me read a quote to you. and that will lead me to my next question. It is from the widow of Steve Jobs. She just wrote a book about Steve Jobs, a very powerful book. So I read the quotes to my sons as well. I've got a 14-year-old son, a 13-year-old son, and a 10-year-old son. So here's what he said. He said that everything that makes up what we call life was made up by people no smarter than you, no more capable than you. The world is not fixed. We can change it for the better.
Wow.
Wow. You know what you said? I've been thinking about it recently. I was like, everybody you admire was once a novice at the thing that you admire the person at. They learned it. You know, once you make that shift, that's what happened to you. I mean, you saw these guys. So they're not as smart as you. They're not even as good. They have very flappy bodies. And they're rich. And they're like, come on, man. That's what happened to you. It was a switch. You're like, yo, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
I like that. So what role does mindset play? And what role did your mindset play in there? Because you were in a dark place. It was locked down. You couldn't come out. You couldn't go out. It was a dark place for you. How did you make that transition? And what role did your mindset play?
I mean, mindset is, I would say, a good 90% of it, man. I think it's because what I'm doing now is not, believe it or not, I actually work less now. When I say less, I mean physically. I don't work as hard physically as I used to, but I'm earning 10 times more now than what I was earning. So it's 100% mindset. It's everything mindset. So I think the hardest part. Somebody was asking me just the other day. I had an event here in Canary Wharf, and somebody was asking me the other day, Evans, what has been one of the toughest things that you've obviously had to do over the last few years in property? And I told them exactly what I'm about to tell you. The hardest thing I had to do was to believe that I can do what I'm doing now.
Come on,
bro. The hardest thing was just to believe.
You've got to say that again, bro.
The hardest thing is, honestly, it's not a cliche. It's honestly being able to fathom that I can live the life that I'm living now. Being able to fathom I can live in, this amazing penthouse I'm living in Canary Wharf, and obviously driving the car and having a business and making the kind of money. I couldn't think of it from where I was starting from. You couldn't think of it. And someone's like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, listen, if you're making £2,000 a month in your job, and I all of a sudden tell you can make £10,000, your mind will never allow you to think that. Impossible. So, but if I tell you you can make £4,000 a month from 2,000, you're gonna be like, well, if I work a little bit more hours, I can do it. And if you now make 4,000, I'm like, you know what? You can actually do 6,000. That's believable. But from a 2,000 a month salary to thinking you can make 30,000 pounds a month, it's impossible. And I think that was the hardest thing for me. It was a complete paradigm shift. I had to unlearn everything I learned and I had to relearn those things. I think that's definitely the hardest part of it. And even now, now I'm thinking of doing big things. I've got it on a vision board, but my mind still doesn't allow me to think of £100,000 a month. But slowly but surely, I'm working. I found the formula for my mind. So it's a slow increase. When I was making 20, I was thinking like, okay, cool, I can make 30 now. Now I'm making 30. I'm thinking how I can make 50. And when I start making 50, then I can think of 100. So I think that's been the hardest part of my journey. And I think for a lot of people, they have to get out of themselves, get around themselves, and everything else becomes easier after that.
So do you reckon that consistent incremental progress has helped you?
Oh, 200%. 200%. There's a book I've read by Darren Hardy. It's called The Compound Effect. And that's obviously very good. This guy,
you're in the spirit. And I'll tell you why you're in the spirit. So I've got a paid WhatsApp community where I teach sales.
Okay, cool.
I've done it for 3 years. Every day, Monday to Friday. It's a big community. we review a book every month. And next month, the book we're reviewing is Darren Hardy's book.
Wow.
I've already announced it.
Wow.
Because I'm a big believer in compounding. Charlie Munger, the partner of Warren Buffett, is 99 years old. So he's worth over $3 billion. Berkshire Hathaway, great man. My favorite quote of him is said that, do not disrupt anything that is compounding unnecessarily.
Wow.
Nah, you are where you are today because you didn't disrupt the process. If when you went to that property job and because the salary wasn't much, if you had stopped, you won't be where you are today. But you did not stop. So talk to us about incremental progress, but being consistent at it.
Yeah, 100%. And to be fair, it's something I've been doing for a long time, but I've been doing it unconsciously. When I became conscious of it is last year. I was getting married last year December. I got married in December.
Oh, look at the way you just light it up, man. I'm gonna tell the missus, you gotta see this part, man.
So basically, what happened was, last year December, I was like, cool, I'm getting married in December. I want to lose about 50. I want to shred. I want to lose about 15 to 20 kg. So what I said was, you know what it is? If I say, I've been saying I'm going to do it for a long time, but I've never really been doing it because no one's holding me accountable. So what I did was I go a personal trainer, and my personal trainer, obviously, I've been working with him, very hard for a good few months, right? And I observed this personal trainer very, very well, right? So basically, we were working out, right? But we were working out 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. We used to do 3 different workouts on those 3 days, but we do the same workouts every day, once a week. But every single week, what happens was, what I realized from him, that's when I became conscious of this. He has a red book, and every workout that I do, he writes the workout, but most importantly, he writes the weight of it. So next week when I come, he increased the weight slightly. I remember I was doing the leg press, and I started doing the leg press, and I swear to God, I felt like I was dying when I was pushing just 100 kg on the leg press. And within 2 weeks, I was doing 250 kg. And I sat there and I was thinking, like, man, this is crazy. If you told me to do 250 kg 2 weeks ago, I would tell you where to go. Right? I don't think I've got stronger, but my mind has allowed me to believe that I can do a little bit more. Every single week, we used to obviously raise the weight a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's when I became conscious of how this of how this thing works. And I realized my life is exactly the same way. If you're somebody who's overweight today, to just say, look, I'm going to lose, 100 kg or 100 pounds in the next few months, it's not impossible to do, but your mind will not allow you to do it. So you have to break it down into what you can believe that you can obviously do and do it, and then increase it a little bit more and then do it. And then eventually, next thing that you know, a few weeks, a few months from now, when you look back, you look at how far you've come. So that's kind of like what really happened and what really opened up my eye to exactly how all of this works. It's a little bit, it's all about this. As long as you can control this, it becomes easier.
That's so powerful. Like they say that what you don't measure, you cannot improve.
That's it right there. That's it right there. 100%. 100%. You need to be able to measure it.
How can people translate that to their income and to their sales? So expand on that now. Somebody's doing 2K a month. They want to have a 10K a month or a 5K a month. Somebody's making only 2 sales calls. They want to do like 10 sales calls a day. How do you apply this incremental mental model to that?
Well, I mean, I think it's actually very simple. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's very simple to do. If you're making 2K a month, I think you have to actually write down on paper what it is that you're doing that's enabling you to make 2K a month. And then if you want to make 3K a month, then you have to increase it slightly. Look at what you do. How many calls are you making to make 2K a month? How many test drives? If you're a car salesperson, for example, how many test drives are you doing? How many phone calls are you doing? It's all about, but if you don't, and that's the thing with a lot of people, they don't take record. They don't actually record what they're actually doing. They do a lot of things unconsciously. And as a result, they believe there's no way to grow. But if you actually are conscious of what you're actually doing and you take note of it and you do a little bit more, then all of a sudden you're in control of the results.
That's so powerful, bro. You know, I was coaching a client. I said, do you realize that when you call a very big company, straight up, they'll tell you, this call is being recorded for improvement purposes. So they listen to those calls to get better at the call.
Exactly.
The average agent, they've never recorded their calls. So they don't know how they sound. They don't know how they ask the questions. They don't know their discovery. They don't know their closing. They don't know how they handle the objection. And that's why they don't improve. Now, can you imagine if an agent uses your trainer's methodology in their sales?
Wow.
Just think about it. You listen to your call and say, you know, I think my discovery wasn't right in this call on a scale of 1 to 10. I think the way I handled the objection of let me think about it wasn't right in this call. Okay, I closed this sale. What do you think I did that made me close that sale? It's the same measurement, right? That will lead to the improvement.
Wow.
I mean, this is a powerful conversation, man. Evans, if you had to do it all over again, what skill will you develop first to accelerate your success?
100%, believe it or not. And I was saying that to somebody in fact, yesterday, I was saying that to one of my students. I was telling him, you need to learn how to sell.
Come on, brother. I
was telling him, you need to learn how to sell. He's like, what do you mean? Like, what? I'm like, well, listen, if you're going to call a landlord, I'm giving you the script. Obviously, I know the script works because I've used the script hundreds of times. I've done it live on stage. You've seen me got results. So there's no question about the script. It's the tonality. It's obviously the way you overcome the object. You need to learn how to sell because you are selling. You are a salesperson. You try and take their property and offer them a guaranteed rent. It sells. Why should I give it to you over somebody else? It's down to how you come across. So I think for me, if I had to do it all over again, I would 100% learn sales. And for me, I actually learned sales unconsciously because I was obviously born in a small island called St. Lucia, and we have to sell to eat. You know, 1 minute I'm selling fish, 1 minute I'm selling roofing, 1 minute I'm selling car washes. I had to do that because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't eat. At the time, I didn't know it was sales. I was just doing, what I was just doing. Obviously, now I'm conscious that it sells, and it's a very powerful thing. The ability to obviously change people's mindset to think the same way that you want them to think. It's very important, even at home. Even if you haven't got a business, right? That's what a lot of people don't realize. Even if you haven't got a business and you have a family, for your son and your daughter to respect you, you have to sell to them.
Yes.
You have to sell to them why they can't eat the chocolate past 8 o'clock. I have to do it. I do it all the time. I tell my son, listen, you're the one who told me you want to be a professional footballer. Professional basketballer, right? Do you agree you have to be in shape and be able to run? It's like, yes. So do you agree that if you eat the chocolate now, you're gonna put on weight? Like, yes. So I have to say, if I can't sell to him, he'll eat the chocolate. Next thing I know, he's gonna be big like the globe. Yes. Right? It's like my wife the same way. I want to go out on the weekend. I have to sell to her why I have to go out on the weekend. Why is it important I go out on the weekend so that Sunday I can stay home and she can go do a spa day? So it's all about sales. If you can't sell, you'll struggle in life. You'll always get the wrong end of the stick. That's my opinion.
That's so powerful. So you said something powerful. You said when you were selling in St. Lucia, you were selling unconsciously. You were understanding. So now you understand sales consciously. What step did you take to learn the skill of selling consciously?
That's a very good question. I did quite a few things. I mean, I have obviously read loads of books about sales, and I've worked in loads of sales jobs. I've worked with some individuals who are very good salesperson, and by me working for them, they've obviously taught me sales, and I've learned sales for them.
Yeah.
So through all of those different individuals, I've obviously worked in different sales jobs. I've learned how to sell from them. I've also invested in myself by learning sales. I've invested into people like Grant Cardone and different individuals. And I still think I still have a lot to learn. I think there's so much I don't think you can ever be the complete salesperson. So those are the some of the things I've done to get me to where I am today. I still believe that there's more. I think no one can be the finished article. There's still more to learn, but that's a few of the things I did to help me myself and to be conscious of me selling.
Fantastic. How do you handle rejection or a lost sale in the pipeline?
How do I handle it?
Yes.
Well, the way I look at it now, I realize that every sale I lose, I actually really sit down and I really analyze how I could have done it better. I think that's one thing I've become very good at. Even if someone said to me they haven't got no money and then they sound very convincing, I know that's not true. Because when I got started in property, I didn't physically have any money in the bank, but I still found £12,000 at the time to invest into property trading. So how is someone like me who didn't have any money found the money to do it? So that's one thing that I obviously I've become very good at. Every lost opportunity, every lost sale, I always just think like, what could I have done better? Could I have been more understanding with them? Should I have been a little bit harder on them? Should I close them? Because sometimes there's a thin line, and obviously you are sales expert, so maybe you can obviously maybe help me out and have an opinion on that. There's a thin line with obviously being a little bit pushy. Sometimes by overcoming the objection, you overcome it one time. I tend to be a little bit calm and not go a second time. But maybe someone like you would obviously overcome the objection 2 or 3 times until you get the yes. So sometimes when I look back and I feel like, what, I could have been a little bit harder on this individual. And I feel bad for myself. And I also feel bad for the person, because I know the person won't get the help and the support that they need. And they will be stuck in the same situation that they are for the next few months. I've seen it happen so many times. So whether I sell, I don't sell thinking like, oh, I've lost money. I think like, because I'm so convinced in my product, I feel like, you know what, man, this guy is going to be stuck in his job for the next year. Nothing's going to change in his life. That's the part that really hurts the most.
I get it.
And I just try to think like, how could I have been better and save this guy, if that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. I was taking every time I take my children to school in the morning, I ask them this question. I say to them, how did you have a great day?
Wow.
Now we are on our way to school. The day hasn't finished. So I say to them, how did you have a great day? So they say to me, oh, I got praise. I said, so what did you do specifically to get the praise? So I put up my hand for the teacher to see me and I answered a few questions. Okay. So I call that principle pre-analysis. So there is when you lost the sale, you do the post-analysis. You ask, why did I lose the sale? So why don't we trick the mind? That's okay. How did I get the sale? So that, I don't know, it helps in improving the outcome. The outcome. So I'm just thinking, as you just said that, I just say, hang on a minute. We can translate this into the principle of selling. So if we go like, okay, let's say I'm an agent with Evans right now, and I say to myself, how did I close the sale? So I'll go like, okay, there are 5 major objections that clients usually ask us, usually. So let me do a role play with one of my colleagues in the office and answer those objections before I go in for that meeting. So that when they come up, I'm a bit prepared. I don't know. I'm just thinking like a crazy sales coach right now. I don't know. You tell me, bro.
That makes a lot of sense, because I do have that post-analysis every single time that a sale doesn't go through. So it does make sense. Maybe if I just work it backwards and have a pre-analysis.
Yeah, pre-analysis, yeah.
So that it makes it a lot easier and a lot better and a lot more prepared going into the sale.
Fantastic. You spoke about vision board, the last time when we were talking in the conversation. So do you believe in it? Because I've got a vision board here. I know what it has done in my life. It's so powerful. Can you speak to that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I said all the time, almost all of my students, I have a group of students that I coach, hand in glove, and they're like my they're like my extended family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely do everything I possibly can do to help them win. And I say to them all the time, I'm like, it's free to do. I'm not even charging you for this. Just try it, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard. It's very hard for a lot of people. Again, it goes back to the same thing I was saying earlier. It's hard for them to fathom printing those things, just printing those things and putting it up there. I know because when I did my first vision board, and I I learned about the vision boards on YouTube. I learned through a guy named Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey was talking and he was saying that Oprah Winfrey have been on TV for years telling people about the vision boards. And I was like, what? Oprah Winfrey? Like one of the first, African American women to, make $1 billion. I was like, you know what? If she's saying that, then what? Why not try it?
Mm-hmm.
And I can recall printing and I was printing those things, and my girlfriend at the time was not my wife. Her dad obviously was in the office, and he came upstairs with obviously those things, and it's like, Evans, is there anybody else? Did somebody print this? Knowing that only me and him is in the house. And I was like, yeah, I think it was me. I was cringing myself printing those things because I couldn't really believe I could achieve those things. And I'm telling you, I was broke. I'm sleeping in my girlfriend's living room, and I'm thinking of having a penthouse in Canary Wharf and having a gold Range Rover with black wheels and making 10,000 a month and inspiring people. It was hard to believe, being a best-selling author. And I was just like, man, it's hard to believe. But I'm like, you know what? It doesn't kill me to do.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
And believe you me when I say this to you, now I'm on my third vision board. I have achieved almost everything I've got in my life now. People think it's by mistake and say you're lucky. I'm not. How can you tell me I'm lucky? When I print an apartment or I print a car, the exact same car, the exact same color, I've got it downstairs in the basement. So it's very, 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 very extremely impactful. I tell people that all the time. You need to do that. You need to do it. It doesn't cost you any money to do.
Anything, bro.
It's so impactful. Everything I want today, I put it on the vision board. My vision board is so big right now. It's just in my bedroom. Anybody comes into my house, they don't see it because I don't want them to see it and then try to,
talk you out of it.
Talk me out of it. Only me and my wife can see it. That's the level that it is right now.
Wow. This is so powerful. Evans, I know that you're a very busy man. Let me not take... And it's a weekend. So, what's your morning routine like? You look like a man that has some regimen to be where you are today. You
100.
Make a cup of coffee. How does your day go?
Yeah, 100%. And I have to be completely honest and say I don't stick to it every single day. I have to be honest.
That's fine.
Because sometimes I'm obviously I'm running here, I'm running there.
Yeah.
I have to travel. So I don't but I would say 8 out of 10 mornings, my morning would obviously look like this. I'd wake up in the morning, and the first thing that I do, I obviously pray. Whether I put my knees down and pray, or I wake up and I just close my eyes in the bed for an extra 5 minutes, and I just thank God for today. It's so powerful, and I believe everything I do in my life is because of God. I think God has made me, do what I'm doing now. So I am very thankful and grateful for Him because everything that I have now, I have been successful before, and it's been stripped of me. He took it off me. So I know everything I have now, it's not permanent. Because He can take it off tomorrow. So I pray every single morning when I wake up. I grab a cup of coffee, and then I do 2 things. I write down the top 5 things that I want to get done today.
Yeah,
those 5 things are non-negotiable. I do them without fail. If I do them by 12, I pretty much say I have a day off. But just knowing that I've accomplished the 5 things, because I believe in being proactive as opposed to reactive. If you don't plan the day will plan for you.
That's right.
And then the next thing I do, I just go to the gym. I need cardio. I need to get my heart rate up. To get those endorphins pumping, to get the happy hormones out.
Yes.
And to feel confident and smash out the day. I think that's kind of like how I do my day. Most days. Sometimes I include a cold shower if I'm really, 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 really down and the gym is really hard to go to. I do something extra hard, like I have a cold shower, because whenever I have the cold shower, I know, like, wow, if I've done something so hard, everything else becomes easy.
Yeah,
that tends to be my morning routine.
This has been a fascinating conversation, brother. So where do people, I always ask this question to all my guests that Evans, if you want to, if you enjoy the interview style, and you say to yourself, say, Paul, if you want to, if you can recommend somebody to say, you know, bro, you need to come to this guy's podcast, who would that person be? Who
If I had to if I had to recommend somebody,
yes,
I mean, there, you know, I've got a lot of good people around me. You know, I try to obviously make myself better. There's a lot of people around me that I can recommend. I can recommend a very good friend of mine. You know, Kevin. Kevin's a very good friend of mine.
Kelvin. Okay, Kelvin. I thought you said Toby. Yeah, Kelvin. Okay,
Yeah,
Kelvin.
Kevin. He's slightly different to me, but he's a very knowledgeable guy. He's a bit of an introvert, but he's a very, very smart guy. One of the smartest guys that I personally know. So definitely, I can definitely recommend Kevin, you know, to come on this podcast.
Fantastic. That would be
I
great.
think he'd be a very good asset.
That would be good. Thank you so much. Where should people follow you on social media? What's your handle?
Yeah, my name is Evans J Willie, EVANS, J for Juliet, and Willie, WILLIE. It's the same on Facebook, and it's the same on TikTok as well. So Evans J Willie, no dots, no underscore, just Evans J Willie. And you can't miss me. I've got a unique face and energy.
Yeah, I like that.